Hey everyone, Sean Corbett again. I have Stephen Earl back with me. We did a podcast a few weeks back, and we were just talking about his market strategy and where he's really built a successful business working with new people that have never invested in real estate. Now have the opportunity to actually get involved in a very low risk, safe long-term investment with the strategy to really start building net worth through other people's money, right? That's kind of the underlining benefit that he has in helping people in that investment market. But I've got Steven back on with me. He's got a couple things I want to make sure we have the opportunity to share. He's a famous author, top 10 and well, maybe not quite there, but he does have a couple of really good books I think I'm going to recommend you guys take a look at. And I want to start with that because that's an easy one to kind of jump into. So Steven, welcome back.
Hey, it's great to be here with you, Sean. I really enjoyed our last conversation and conversations that we've had since. It's fun to kind of actually follow you a little bit and see all the great things that you're doing for your clients out there in the Texas area.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So you've got a couple books that's going to change our life, right? Tell me about the first book. What do you want to which one do you want to start with?
Well, so I'll share with you my first book that I wrote with my business partner Kevin Clayson. It's called Micro Wins to Millions,
Okay.
and it's basically the formula for regular hardworking people who don't necessarily want to be investors, but they want to own investment real estate.
Okay.
And it's the idea that, you don't have to swing for the fences and try and hit a home run in real estate or in anything in your life for that matter of fact. It's a whole life philosophy about the concept of just hitting singles. Sean, do you ever see the movie Moneyball with
You've talked
Brad
about that a
Pitt?
little bit last time, right? We weren't
Yeah.
talking about getting up there, hitting home runs, or having the best pitching. They're focused on getting on base, right? That's really the
Yep.
point. It's very simple,
Exactly.
boring, not exciting, but it wins games. And that's the whole point of it.
Yep, that's the whole thing. It's micro winning your way to whatever you want to accomplish in life. And so the book, we equate it to everything in life, but then in each chapter we relate it specifically to real estate and how you can micro win your way to financial freedom, economic independence through single family real estate investing. And so that's the premise of the book. And there are 12 principles that we go through. I'm a strong believer in principle-based investing and in principle-based living. And as you apply this concept of micro winning to your life in every aspect, you find a way to accomplish and achieve, your grandest goals. A few years ago, I never thought I would be a long distance runner, Sean. I was always like that athlete. I wasn't a tall kid, but I played all of the tall kid sports. And kind of my, uh, you know, the way that I was able to compete with those who were, bigger and taller than I was just by being, quicker and faster and more tenacious and determined. And so, it was all about fast twitch muscle kind of, activities. But in my mid 30s, that fast twitch muscle was all gone. And so I picked up the sport of running long distance. I never ever thought I'd be a long distance runner. And about a year after I started running with a group and they started talking about, running, marathons, running the St. George Marathon. And so I got excited about that. And then they started talking about, qualifying for the Boston Marathon. And so that became like my big goal was to run the Boston Marathon. And I was like, yeah, I'll qualify my first year. But in order to qualify, I had to run, you know, like a 3 hour and 10-minute marathon, which equates to less than a 7-minute mile
Mm.
for 26.2 miles. So fast forward, it took me 10 years. So I started running when I was 34, and at age 44, I finally qualified for the Boston Marathon. And my time could be a little bit slower. I had to run a 3:25. I ended up running a 3:17.
Mm.
And so that equated to about a 7-minute, 15-second um, uh,
Mile.
uh, mile for 26.2 miles. And
Yeah.
so I finally did. And the way that I did, I won't go into all the details, but this story is in Micro Wins to Millions. And so just bit by bit through micro winning, through like losing a little bit of weight, doing my speed work, eating properly, doing all these little things and being tenacious and determined. I micro win my way to, qualifying for and finally running the Boston Marathon. In my mid 40s for that matter. And so
Have
that's
you ever
kind of the
heard of
concept.
Atomic Habits? Have you ever heard of that? Atomic
I
Habits?
love that book. It's a
So it's
great
the
book.
same kind of principle, I think, in essence, where we're just changing a little bit every single day. And over a long period of time, you end up way beyond you could ever get to. You wouldn't be able to get there any other way. Like it just has to be done incrementally. I like that first story early in the book. They talk about the London Tour de France team, the bicycle team. They'd
Oh,
never won a gold. They've never placed. They've never been on the map. They bring in a coach and I think he was less of a coach, but more about incremental improvements. And his
yeah,
focus was, we're going to change every little thing. And they do all the normal things. We're going to lighten the bike. We're going to grease the wheels. We're going to, and do all the normal things. And then they started adding extra incremental things. And over time, they started becoming, they were so bad before, like sponsors said, don't advertise you use my bike, right? They didn't even want to be associated with the
yeah,
British team. And by the time they got through, they ended up winning a lot of gold medals, even in the Tour de France, which they never even placed before. They ended up winning some Tour de France. So it was a really cool about baking, changing small little things for enormous results. It just takes time and patience and little changes. So I like that. And we're in a
yeah,
business that if you're going to own buy and holds, right? You're not going to get you're going to be a millionaire overnight. It's going to take time and it's going to take time of investing. But what's cool about our business is that it's a growing. I use this analogy. I have a buddy that's just bought 3 houses over the last year. He spent about $80,000 cash out of his pocket, the way I structured the deals. And by the time he's done with the third one, he'll earn about $40,000 of equity growth every year on other people's money. So in 2 years, he'll return his entire $80,000 investment in equity, not in cash, but in equity, which is an enormous compounding benefit on other people's money. So
yeah. It's
I just
brilliant.
love
Where
that.
else can you do that? It's phenomenal. Love
So
that.
anyway, I love that idea. The micro wins to millions. I already checked on Audible while we were on you. I didn't see you on Audible yet. We'll have to get you on there.
Yeah, if we're not on Audible. The book is done. It's published. I've got the hardback copies. We now need to finish. We actually we haven't even done like an actual launch. We had a book signing for our clients out here in Utah.
Yeah.
So we had an evening. We had a ton of clients come through and get their autograph version before it even it goes up publicly. So over the next 2 months, couple months, we'll get it recorded. We'll get it, on Amazon. We'll get it in Audible. So you can't even buy this book yet. Um, I'll,
Send me
I,
a copy. I want an autograph. I want a copy.
I'm going to send you a copy, Sean.
Let's do it.
I'll send it to you today.
I love learning. I love growing. I love this. This is fantastic. Okay, what's our second book?
The second book is called The Investor's Agent Blueprint. This book is for real estate agents. So probably, this isn't particularly interesting to your audience today, but it's for real estate agents um, to help them know how to work with investors.
Yeah.
And essentially what I've done, I've been doing this for a long time now. I'm going on over 20 years as a real estate agent and real estate investor. And I basically just took everything that I have developed and know about working with investors and put it all in a book. And therefore it's called the Investor's Agent Blueprint. And the reason why I'm doing this, like, it's kind of like, a lot of real estate agents, they hold their cards close to their chest, right? They
Yeah.
don't want people to know their secrets because they're afraid that, that they'll lose out on an opportunity. I believe in the abundance mentality. I think that there's more than enough business out there for every single agent out there. And here's
It's
the reality.
really, really hard to get over that mental break, right? Because
Yeah.
so, and not to take you off topic too much, because you and I are at EXP, right?
Yeah.
So there's a strategy of us, raising the tide raises all boats. And we just have
Yep.
this philosophy, what we just give away anything we can use to grow our business. We give it. And that's really hard when you're in a micro building with 200 other agents all competing for the same cheese. They don't share anything.
Yeah.
So it's a real
Exactly.
different aspect for agents when they come over and realize, wait a minute, I don't have 200 EXP agents standing on the same corner as me selling the same, 10 neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It's amazing the mentality you can have and how fast and abundant we can grow by helping each other. So I do
Well,
like that.
exactly. And really, at the end of the day, it's about helping the real estate agent. But like, I'm on this mission because I've seen what real estate investing has done for my clients. I do, 200 to 300 transactions per year, and 98% of them are investment real estate related for my clients. And but here's the problem, Sean, is like 200 or 300, purchases a year with my clients. That's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
And we need more agents who have the ability to help their clients succeed in a big way and take advantage of real estate. Because all the tax law, the rules of our world here in the United States has been built for business owners and landowners or real estate people, right? And here's the problem: like more than 50% of people out there went in a recent survey in a poll, they believe that real estate investing is one of the best ways to build wealth and prepare for retirement. Yet fewer than 6% of people, according to the IRS, actually own real estate and claim it on their tax return.
Hmm.
There's this massive disconnect. We need more real estate agents who have the ability to help their clients purchase real estate, because here's the reality: most people don't know how to do it. They don't know how to get started. They want to do it. There's so many people, they want to invest in real estate. They just don't know how to do it. And if there were more agents out there who knew like the basics of how to even have a conversation with clients and how to explain to them the benefits, explain to them how to get started in their own local market, if there were more agents who could do that competently, there would be more individuals who owned and took advantage of real estate. Of my clients, I've got a couple thousand clients who've purchased real estate with me or through me and my services. The vast majority of them would have never invested in real estate had they not met me, because they just didn't know how to get started. They didn't know how to do it. And most of my clients fall in the category of, they don't really care about being an investor per se and knowing everything about it. They just know they need to own real estate. They want to own real estate. They want the benefits and the advantages of owning real estate. And so that's the whole premise of the investors agent blueprint. It's the blueprint. It's the how to help your clients invest in real estate.
Sure. And your philosophy is leading them into a safe space of real estate investing, the way that you've set
Exactly.
up your system. And I tell you, there are a number of barriers I think about either for agents or for investors. And I think for agents, they feel like selling investment property to an investor is someone that already knows a lot of things and they don't feel like they can answer their questions. They feel inferior. And often those investors don't know that much about real. They just know they need to invest in real estate. It's
Yep.
rare in my model. It's rare that I run across anyone that knows more about investing in real estate than I do, and most of them don't know much at all. So it's not a hard conversation. And between
Yep.
you and I, we know if we're working with a retail client or an investor client, we know which one's probably going to be a lot easier to work with, because they don't have the emotional attachment to a lot of this stuff. It's just, do the numbers work? And I bet you sell plenty of property your investors don't even look at. I mean, is
Yeah,
that
I mean, they see it, but uh, the vast majority of my clients will never physically see the properties that they've purchased
that's what I'm
because
saying.
they,
Like,
they live thousands of miles away from the properties that they're
absolutely. Yeah, you can, and that's good for you because you can really hone in on some specific markets that are more attractive for those type of
yeah,
opportunities where the cash flow might be a little bit better or the investment might be a little bit less expensive with potential upside on the other side,
yeah.
for equity growth. I love that. So Investors Agent Blueprint, I was
So
thinking,
that is available on Amazon and
okay,
Audible.
it is on Audible.
Yeah,
Okay. I looked up your name on Audible. I saw Stephen Early, but I didn't see, I'll look it up again. I'll,
yeah,
I'll check that
yeah. It should
because
be
I
there.
got some credits I need to spend. So I'm happy to go through and I'll give you some feedback on your book. Might be
Sounds good.
negative. I don't know. We'll see. I'll do my best to be
Hey,
objective.
feedback is feedback, right?
Investor agents. I like that title. I've struggled trying to find how do I define myself when I'm working with an an investor. Now I work in a little bit different business. My space, we're also going to do rehab. We're also going to work with hard money off market lenders. And I add a whole lot more variables into it, which makes it a lot more complicated. Yes, the average agent's not going to get involved in that space. But I always try to think of what role am I playing? I always think of myself as kind of this investor liaison, where I separate the contractor from the investor. I separate the seller from the investor that's buying it. I even separate my lenders from the investor directly. I make them all go through me because they don't speak each other's language, you
Yep.
know. And I know I make it very complicated when I invite all these different people, but it's just kind of where I learned. I did over 100 flips here in Dallas Fort Worth, and I had all the relationships, and I think, well, I have the relationships. How do I make a monetize it? Well, I can create things that they can't create. There's no way they're going to step up and do a bird method from scratch, right? So I fill in a lot of those gaps for that. But I like the investor agent language. And then barriers for investors, it always sounds way scarier than it is, right? I mean, it does. It sounds like, well, you only hear the horror stories. You hear about rents not keeping up with pity. You hear about all the maintenance that you got to deal with at odd hours of the night. They always talk about these negative perception, but if they could see where their money and how fast it's compounding on someone else's payment, it all of a sudden, I think where you really see it is comparing like buying one house and then owning three houses and then owning five. And then all of a sudden you see this equity growth is just it's like an avalanche. It
Well, yeah,
starts growing
it's
so
powerful.
fast on multiple properties.
Yeah. And that's the thing that people very quickly get to understand is the multiple revenue streams that real estate brings, right? You got the cash flow, you got the principal pay down that you alluded to, you've got the depreciation expense that you get to expense off, and you've got your appreciation. And then there's other benefits as well. When you own real estate, I mean, make no mistake, you own a business. And if you own it with your significant other, every time you go out to dinner and you're talking about business, well, guess what? That was a business expense. You go on a vacation together, you're discussing real estate, you go and take a look at some properties and different business related things while you're in, some resort town. And guess what? Your vacation was a business expense. And so there's those benefits as well in being a business owner. That you just if you're just plain flat, W-2, you're in the highest tax bracket. You're paying, into all of these different government programs, forced paid into. And so, if you do that, there's nothing wrong with being W-2. But if you can add real estate to your, overall repertoire of retirement planning and day-to-day life, there are some massive benefits that you get to take advantage of, as you participate in real estate. So everything that you talked about, I mean, spot on.
I have a question. I've been thinking of a concise way to explain to an investor how this works because I don't normally bring them into the details. They get their eyes glaze over and they don't need an MBA, right, to be able to start working through this. I try to keep things fairly on. I've been told I can talk in crayon, where you make things just simple enough for them to say, okay, I see that. And then one of the ways I think about, and I talked about this statistic before, I say it's about a 5% appreciation. And where that comes from is or I'm sorry, not appreciation, equity growth. Where that comes from is there are five buckets we make money. You named all of them. We're missing appreciation, but I know that's in there too. So we've got principal buy down where the renter's paying down our principal, right, on the note, using their rent. And then you have the appreciation, which is going to go up roughly 2 to 3% a year. I combine those for my equity growth because that's a separate bucket, right? That's your growth from your payoff to what it's worth, right? And that bucket is growing. I'm seeing at roughly about 5% is a pretty fair number. And I'm taking principal reduction and appreciation. What do you use for appreciation on property generally?
Like
About
what number?
3%?
So on all of the property analysis that I do, I provide
Yes.
three scenarios every single time.
Okay.
I show the historic, which is 3.5%. I show the
Okay.
likely, which we have experienced over the last 20 years, which is at least in the markets where we invest, which is 5%. And then there's the optimistic, which is I typically put it about 6.5%. And historically, my clients in the markets where we have invested, it falls somewhere between that 5 and 6.5%.
But that's just appreciation.
That's only appreciation. So let me share with you. So you asked about like what's you've been trying to encapsulate a simple way to explain
Yes.
two
Yes.
things. So let me share with you what I do. So on the cash flow, the
Yes.
income, ongoing income, there's something that I call combined cash on cash return, which includes your net monthly cash flow, your principal pay down, and your depreciation. Those are literally like cash in the bank um, uh, items that you can quantify on an annual basis. So that's what I call combined cash on cash return. Then there's something that I call um, monthly average increase. And that's where I take the combined cash on cash and then I add in appreciation. And over the course of 5 years and 10 years, because you have to look at your real estate not in the moment. Because if you just look at real estate in the moment,
Yeah. Some
like
years you
it
make
can be
10% and some you might lose money, right?
yeah,
It's
and
like a stock.
it can be really hard. So if you look at it from the standpoint of what is this property going to do for me in 5 years? What's it going to do for me in 10 years?
Mhm.
You can look at this monthly average increase where you take appreciation, your combined cash on cash, and you break it down into a monthly quantifiable increase. So over the course of, say, I'll just take a 10-year return on a $300,000 home. I can show you on literally thousands of property analysis
So
that
180 months, what are you getting a percent on each month? What do you think?
what are you getting dollars, not just well,
Gotcha.
on a percentage, we average between 17 and 21% on average. But if you break that into a quantifiable monthly dollar amount, the properties that we buy will average between $1,400 and $2,100 per month
Yeah. Yeah.
for for 120 months. That's
That's
what your
still,
average monthly increase is. All of a sudden, that gets pretty exciting. If you make an $85,000 investment in a property, which is your total out of pocket on about a $300,000 home,
yes.
you know, it's not very exciting to look at, $100 or $150 a month.
Yeah.
But when you look at it long term and
Sure.
the benefits that you get, and all of a sudden it's $1,800 a month, that's pretty powerful. And that's pretty exciting.
Well, your
Pretty
mathematical
simple.
increase you're using based on the way you're setting this up. I mean, if we're at 18%, that's 1.5% every month that house is gaining in equity value.
And cash flow and depreciation.
Well, I'm adding it into your, because I'm only going to run about 5% on and the only reason why I use mine just as simple terms. I like
Yeah.
yours because it's incredible. I haven't even really considered the cash flow element. I'm just doing principal reduction
Yeah,
with the appreciation, just focusing on that for my initial investment.
sure.
And I feel like, if we're sitting at just 3% appreciation, it's pretty fair. And I'm not in pocket niche neighborhoods and areas that you get access to. But even in my own market, 3% is incredibly fair in Dallas Fort Worth. That's pretty
Yeah.
generous.
Yeah.
That's extremely conservative. And then we're probably gaining about a 2% reduction of total value of property in principal reduction. So my total equity growth is about 5% a year. That's all I've done. And I'm still kind of in the infancy stage, but I think
Yeah.
that hits home with people that if the house is 300 grand, you just made 15 grand a year added to the value of the property on someone
Yeah.
else's money.
Yes. Uh, well, and that's the other thing that you get with real estate that you don't get with stocks or bonds or any of the other is that you get to leverage. So you're putting, in your case, 15% down, in my case, 25% down, and you're leveraging the bank's money. And so you get all the benefit on a $300,000 asset by putting down, a third of that. Like that's where what you and I are helping our clients do becomes exponentially powerful.
Yeah. Well, I love it, man. We didn't even talk about some of the other topics. I try to give about 30 minutes so I can respect your time, but man, that was fantastic. I love this. We'll dive in more, I think, on a couple more of these topics. If you're good, I'd like to do this maybe every 2 or 3 weeks, pop on and do one of these if that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that.
All right, awesome. Steven, what's the easiest way to find you?
So if you go to my website is dfy-realestate.com. That's where you can learn all about, everything that it is that I do. If you happen to be a real estate agent, you can go to investorsagent.com and learn about how to get it, take advantage of the investors agent blueprint and learn every secret. I don't even call them secrets, like just learn everything that I've learned over the last 20 years, and you can expedite your ability to learn what it is and that I do and how I do it, and begin helping your clients do the exact same thing.
Awesome. Well, I do it. I'm gonna be taking notes from you. You've got a lot of head start on me for sure. I love this. This is very good. Well, until the next time we meet, we'll go ahead and close out this one. I appreciate you, Stephen.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me on.
All right, no problem.